You know, we cut to 11 with 2.5 minutes to go in the half. We had a little momentum, and you know, we just didn't close out the half. So, I mean, there were a lot of issues. I thought New Orleans played extremely well. They shot the ball well. They shared the ball well. They got out in transition. They defended us well, and we arguably had one of our worst games of the year. So it was a bad combination.
Coach, what was the biggest contributor to the number of turnovers? Were they doing something different, or what do you think was the biggest cause of that?
Some of it was their defense. Some of it was our poor ball handling.
Coach, what does he bring to their team that maybe makes them more difficult now to defend than before?
Well, he opens up the court. I mean, the guy, he makes threes. He really moved well tonight without the ball. I think his presence on the court really opens things up for him. It opens up the middle for penetration, opens up the middle for Davis. You know, and he's a smart basketball player. He knows how to get shots. He knows how to space, cut. So I think, you know, going into the series, those four guys were our biggest concern, and all four of those guys have played extremely well. And, you know, this is the third different guy who's had a 30-point night. He was very efficient, and he made a lot of smart basketball plays as well.
Coach, Damian Lillard finished with 20 points, but it was only on 14 shots. Have you ever seen a team so consistently lock down Damian before?
I think New Orleans is playing, really selling out to stop Damian. You know, we see traps during the regular season. We see teams, but New Orleans has been very consistent with it. They've been very aggressive, as aggressive as I've seen on Damian consistently. And you know, it's tough. He's a competitor, and you know, he wants to play better, but you know, you have to compliment New Orleans defense. They have a game plan, and they've really stuck to it and executed it well so far. Thank you.
I mean, you feel for Terry Stotts for sure. His team in an 0-3 hole. Okay, at the Ryan Hollins. Brother, you are made for NBA TV.
Okay.
They should have you more. Some serious staff from Harry Robinson.
Who I need to talk to, man? Who I need to talk to?
Hey,
we got to get on the phone.
Hey, you might want to call Olivia. And then right here, a little bit of love for B-Wood. All I can say is you're right. Davis is the best big in the league, hands down. Sorry, Ryan, but you can have Embiid. That is the weirdest hashtag I've ever seen.
Hey, man, hey, somebody agree with me, man.
Lawrence Joseph, man, and God knows what he's talking about.
I need somebody to agree with me,
If you agree
man.
with me, tweet me. B1_33, tweet me if you agree that Anthony Davis is the best big in the league.
We've had a good
He's
debate
a
out here.
Pelicans fan, man. That's who that was.
Okay.
A smart Pelicans fan.
You know, as we watch Terry Stotts there, do you not feel sorry for Terry Stotts? Did you see how tired he looked right there? And fantastic coach. I think maybe on the fringe of Coach of the Year consideration this year, getting Portland all the way up to 3. He looked like a defeated man here, Ryan.
I was with Coach Stotts in Dallas, and I mean, he's one of the greatest individuals, you know, day to day that I've ever been around. He knows the game, and he's really turned that Portland team around. You know what's interesting, fella? I want to hear what you think about this, Brendan. I think for that Portland team, they need a complement. They need a Draymond Green or a dynamic roller.
We all need a Draymond Green.
Yeah, obviously, man, but I'm saying that would really, really open things up for Portland. And Nurkic, who's been good for them all year long, but they still need that element because he's short rolling every time, and they're just not getting the right action.
Well, they definitely need somebody else that can step up. Somebody that can stretch the court at the 4 spot. A Draymond Green type would be ideal, but everybody's looking for that type. But anybody that could step up and be another offensive weapon. Also, I think it comes down to a change in philosophy. This year, what did we see happen in the Eastern Conference? A team that's very guard-heavy, the Toronto Raptors, they changed their philosophy. Their guards realized they had to pass the ball, give up the ball more to be more successful. We're seeing DeMar DeRozan average more assists than he ever has.
Yeah.
Look at this Portland team. Dead last in the NBA in assists. You look at the assist to turnover ratio tonight. I think it was 19 assists to 24 turnovers. What does that mean? That means when C.J. McCollum and Dame, when they're not scoring, they're snoring. They're not getting their other teammates involved. So when you look at this team that's so guard heavy, yeah, that works in the regular season when it's a bunch of different scout reports every night. But when you get into the playoffs and a team can lock into you and lock into your stars and say, hey, who else can beat us? And your stars can't make other guys better, that's when it's a problem. So I believe they need another player, and they also need to change the philosophy. They need to kind of do Terry Stotts and Dwayne Casey are friends, obviously, because they were in Dallas together. Stotts might need to call Dwayne Casey up and see how did he get those Toronto guards to buy in to moving the ball a lot more.
And when I say another Draymond Green, another playmaker, another quarterback that once he catches, his eyes are up, making plays and making other guys better on the floor, and that will relieve pressure off of Dame.
Is it, and in terms of the Draymond thing, is it also an intangible? Is there also a grit factor and an edge factor that Portland's missing?
Oh, obviously. And like Brendan said, there's only one Draymond Green. But there's a couple guys, 6'8", 6'9", like a Boris Diaw, that can get the ball and make plays and distribute for others and take that pressure off of CJ and Dame, and that'll open up the floor. And then you play a little big lob, you go some high-low action. But they need something. They need a guy with that type of playmaking intangible. And he doesn't even need to be a knockdown three-point shooter, but have just enough.
Basically what you're saying is they need somebody to activate the weak side of the defense.
Yes.
A big man that can catch the ball, put it down, multifaceted, that can do a bunch of different things, and then swing it, hit somebody in the corner for three, throw that lob, take some of the pressure off these guards so those guards will feel comfortable giving that ball up knowing that they have another playmaker so they don't feel like they have to do everything. Right now, Dame and CJ feel like they have to do everything themselves, and they become very predictable in playoff situations.
And if you watch Utah, Derek Favors was really good in that role. He caught the ball in that short roll, whipped it around to Rudy Gobert. Gobert made that play to him a couple times, and they do that very well. So you've got to have that comfort level with your big or a tall power forward in that spot.
Damian Lillard hit 20 points tonight. First time over 20, at or over 20 in this series, but it was dirty. 5 of 14. His team in an 0-3 hole. Here's Dame in the locker room.
I play this in every way. Play this in every way, man.
What were you doing so effectively to cause so many turnovers?
I mean, I thought they played physical. They had active hands. They just they had a lot of attention on the ball. There was just so many bodies on the ball and active, and they were just sharp. And I thought they did a good job of that. So it led to a lot of turnovers.
You feel like you guys have adjusted to their defense and tried to find ways to kind of remedy what they're doing?
I think we've tried to adjust. We've talked about a lot of things that we could do to attack them. Basically having 2 and 3 guys on our pick and rolls and stuff, and that's basically been hitting the open man and making them pay on the weak side, trying to keep the ball moving. But it just hasn't worked out for us. It's one thing to say this is what we need to do to be successful against them. It's another thing to actually go out there and execute it. And when things aren't going well, and they hitting shots and their crowd gets into it, the game just gets harder, and it gets harder to trust those plays and trust it to work out. And we, as a group, we had a lot of situations where we might have over-dribbled, and we played into the hands. We dribbling in crowd sometimes. They get their hand on the ball, speed us up sometimes, and just a lot of turnovers, and they took advantage of it. They got great production from a lot of guys.
Nurkic really hurt you guys. Is that just because you guys are paying more attention to AD and he's able to cut in?
You look at Rondo, penetration coming off pick and rolls, Drew Holiday. Then you got to worry about Anthony Davis. He caught a million lobs. But you got to worry about other things. And, that, like I said, they got good production from a lot of guys. Worry about those 3 guys, and then Mirotic come out and have 30. And then Darius Miller is just knocking down 3 after 3. And Ian Clark is hitting shots and impacting the game. So it makes it that much harder to deal with their main guys when you got other guys coming in, and it's just like a clockwork. They're just knocking down shots, getting their hands on balls, running out, getting extra possessions. So it just makes the game tougher.
Dame, throughout your whole career, you've seen double teams,
Yeah.
and you've seen traps. What makes this one so effective? Because I don't know if I've ever seen you like this.
See me like what?
Just been taken out of the game.
I've seen traps. 2 years ago in the playoffs, the Clippers trapped me pretty hard. But usually when you see a trap or people blitz a pick and roll, they fall out of it. They don't stay. For example, it was times where I could come off, and once the guard caught up, the big would leave. And this is probably the first time where the big is just staying. I mean, the other guys coming, and they're making me give the ball up. And like I said last game, it's the right play is to give it up and find the open guy. And like you said, to not allow them to completely take me out the game, it's either make that play every time or you got to take a tough one. And I think that's the position that they put me in. So it is what it is. I think this is a different coverage than I've seen in any point in my career. And, of course, it'll be in the playoffs because they don't have any other team to worry about right now, so they can come with it. And it's 2 and 3 layers of defense. So it's tough to play against. It's a challenge.
Out of the first 2 games, you guys preached the positive. They were close losses. After this one, feeling different afterward? You guys still feel like game 4, you can still make some differences?
I mean, obviously you look at it and say, down 3-0, how many teams have done that? But it can happen. And, in this matchup, like I said, we've split with them in the regular season. We played well against them. The first 2 games when we didn't play great, we still had chances down the stretch to win it. Tonight, obviously a blowout, but they shot the ball really well. They made a lot of shots, a lot of contested shots. Things just went their way. And next game, maybe they don't shoot the ball so well. Maybe we have a better presence defensively. They don't shoot the ball well. You get one, and you're going back home, you try to get another one. But, we just got to get a win. At this point, we got to have some pride, go out there and just try to get a win and take it back home.
2 more questions and we're going to wrap it up.
The Pelicans came into this in the playoffs playing so well. Entering the playoffs, did you see anything like this possibly coming? Or did you see it as a particularly difficult matchup, or were you kind of as stunned as most people are about this?
I'm not stunned. I just think the West is so balanced this year. I mean, our record was 49-33, and theirs was 48-34, I think. So it came down to the last 2 games where these positions, anybody could have been in any position. But I just, like I said, I think it matters how well you're playing going into the playoffs. And we had a great streak, 13 games. We were playing our best basketball. And then we hit a rough patch, and that rough patch was coming into the playoffs. And that was when they started playing their best basketball. So I think that matters. But once you get to the playoffs, you got to be able to be sharp and understand that the season is on the line. And to this point, they've just outplayed us.
Okay, thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Dan.
I mean, you can just feel the dejection in Damian Lillard, but what a classy guy. I mean, not all of these demonstrative displays of frustration, just being a professional, standing in his locker and answering these questions, knowing that they're going down. Okay, the history says it may not be in Game 4, but they're probably going down. When a team goes up 3-0 in an NBA playoff series, they're 127-0. It has never happened that a team has climbed out of an 0-3 hole, but you got to appreciate the classiness of Damian Lillard.
That's what being the face of the franchise is. A lot of times, especially the young guys in the league, they think being the face of the franchise is just about hitting baskets, hitting game winners, getting billboards up. Being the face of the franchise is when times are hard, when their tough times hit, you have to stand in front of the microphone, answer the questions, answer them professionally, respectfully, and basically represent your team and your community. Dame, I know this has been a tough series for him. He hasn't shot the ball, hasn't played as well as he'd have liked, but that's true professionalism right there. That's what you want out of the face of your franchise.
And I love this because so often we dog guys for showing their frustrations on the platform, and he actually held his composure well. I got a challenge for Dame, though. I believe he's that good that he's shown the rest of the league that he can't be guarded one-on-one. And he's shown the Pelicans. Let's make no doubt, the Pelicans are showing that respect. They're showing 3-4 bodies, length. They're trapping pick and rolls. They're not letting him get anything off. But I think the next development for him is making his teammates better, making guys, giving them confidence. You see Rondo making Mirotic better. You see Holiday injected with energy. We hadn't seen Drew play like this since Philadelphia. So that's the next challenge from me to Dame, because he's that type of superstar, and he can take his game to a completely another level because he's got that type of talent.
Yeah, and that's what I was talking about when I said Dame and CJ almost have to take a page out of the Toronto Raptors book.
Yep.
with, and you talking about DeRozan and Lowry and how they're passing the ball more to their teammates. They're giving it up a lot earlier than they have in the past. And Dame's a guy that he averaged about, 27, 26 points per game this year. You know, maybe you cut down the points a little bit and try to get the assists to go up, take that number up to maybe closer to the 8 to 9 assists, and that can help your ball club out.
Well, speaking of assists, Rondo had a lot of them. He had 11 and many dimes up high to Anthony Davis, who was just a beast.
Watch
in
your
the
head.
air,
Gotta
on the
get up
ground.
and get down.
We're going to hear from AD soon on Game Time presented by Kia.
Hey, best big man in the league.